Perek HaMoicher SPONSER Daf Pei Vav, sponsored the Refuah Shlema for Yehuda Chaim ben Esther Sarah. The Gemara attempts to prove by way of a brisa the opposite of our conclusion on the previous daf, namely, the buyer's utensil cannot acquire in the seller's domain. In addition, the brisa states other rules regarding proper acquisition. Number one, the buyer does not acquire by performing a mashicha into his domain workers carrying the purchased merchandise. He must perform a mashicha on the merchandise. If he unloaded the merchandise, he acquires. The Gemara initially understood this even if it was still in the seller's sacks. The buyer's domain overrides. By the same token, the seller's domain would override the utensil of the buyer. The Gemara rejects this. This case is where the merchandise was emptied onto the buyer's floor or refers to bundles of garlic not transported in sacks. However, even on his floor, he acquires only if they agreed on a price. The Gemara concludes if the seller stipulates, acquire through your utensil, the buyer acquires. It is as if he loaned him the area. Number two, the buyer does not acquire the merchandise if he measured or even if he performed the mashicha without fixing a price. Number three, the buyer acquires if they agreed to a price without measuring. The Gemara states still more rules of proper acquisition. Number one acquires non-movable property such as land by paying or a document stating the property is sold or a proprietary act. Number two, movable property that is normally lifted must be lifted. Too heavy to lift can be acquired by performing a mashicha. Therefore, a large purse that can only be dragged by its straps, stolen on Shabbos, would exempt a thief for theft, since he is liable for violating Shabbos, a more severe violation when he drags it into a public domain, since he could not lift it. He is chayiv for Shabbos because of kamle b'derabminei. Produce other than flax that slips out of large bundles is sometimes bundled in a way that can only be dragged and not lifted. This is the case of the Mishnah, Mashach v'lo Madad. Small animals, even lightweight, according to the Chachamim, can be acquired by Mashicha because they resist being lifted. If you're enjoying Daf 5, please click on the link below, subscribe, and become a sponsor. Have a good Zimmer, a good and enjoyable spring and summer.